Lords of the Fallen came out this past Friday, and there seems to be a lot of mixed feelings on the game by reviewers. Today, I want to talk about my first impressions of Lords of the Fallen as well as discuss some of the scores that have been given. I currently have about 10 hours in Lords of the Fallen, and the game is absolutely phenomenal. Now, that's not to say the game is perfect by any means, but I feel this game has everything a Souls fan would want. And it's absolutely the closest thing to a Souls experience we've had for a game not made by FromSoft. First, I want to highlight a couple of reviews that I've seen, and then I'll give my own impressions and experiences of what I've played so far. Starting off positive, IGN gave Lords of the Fallen an 8 out of 10, saying that Lords of the Fallen is an awesome Souls-like with fantastic dual realities premise, even when performance shortcomings and wimpy bosses crash the party. I think an 8 out of 10 is fair, and I know this is a small snippet of their overall review, but I think it sums it up pretty well. There are some performance issues that people are dealing with. I'm personally not. I'm playing on PlayStation 5. And I also do think the bosses, I wouldn't really say they're wimpy. I feel like they just lack some health. I think if they got a health bump in an update, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I think it would actually be a good thing for the game. But that's just me. I know not all people would agree with that because I've played these games for a very long time. And with that, the level of difficulty of the game will be slightly less for me than someone else. But that's okay. I think a lot of the real difficulty in this game from what I've played so far lies in the traversal throughout the world between vestiges. You have a lot of enemies you have to deal with. You have a lot of ranged enemies you have to deal with. So navigating that, in my opinion, is where some of the real difficulty in this game comes into play. GameSpot is up next, and they gave it a disrespectful 5 out of 10. They claim the good. Huge, vast world that's visually impressive at all times. Umbral Dimension is great addition to explore and creepy as hell. Some bosses are genuinely cool, challenging fights. And then the bad. Levels are twisting and confusing, leading to a lot of wasted time. I disagree. Checkpoint system is a nightmare that kills the game's pacing. Also, I disagree. Enemies have huge health pools, making every fight overstay its welcome. Only if you're not properly prepared. It's generally easier and quicker to just run past enemies than fight frustrating battles. Now, I'm not going to say I've never ran past an enemy because I absolutely have. Sometimes you just get in a situation where you don't have any heals left, you don't have much life left, and you just got to find a vestige or a checkpoint somewhere. But my main thing is I want to know what this person in particular was smoking whenever they made this review. They basically said the game is too hard, so I'm going to score it bad. The first point they make of the bad here in this little snippet, to me, tells me all I need to know. Levels are twisting and confusing, leading to a lot of wasted time. No, they're not. You explore, you find shortcuts in the world. That is one of the things that Dark Souls is known for. And I feel like this game has implemented that very, very well. It says checkpoint system is a nightmare that kills the game's pacing. I also disagree. I personally, now this is a personal opinion of mine, but I like the way it's set up. I don't like having a bonfire every 15 feet. All enemies have huge health pools, making every fight overstay its welcome. Also, like I said just a second ago, you are clearly not prepared for what you're fighting. You didn't upgrade. Did you find the blacksmith? That is my question. Did you upgrade your weapons? If you are fighting enemies with massive health pools that you feel like are overstaying their welcome, then you're probably going the wrong way. I ran into this. I was exploring. I went through a door that I wasn't ready for, and I very quickly noticed this probably isn't the place I need to be. So you know what I did? I moved on to another area. I went down the other path, and I seen what that had to offer, and guess what? I handled it just fine. Also, on the note of huge health pools, I said just a second ago, the bosses could use more health. I think the enemies in the world, from what I've seen so far, their health pools are in pretty good shape, I think. But I think the bosses could definitely use a bump. Don't know if I'm alone in that, but that's how I feel. Then saying it's generally easier and quicker to just run past enemies than fight frustrating battles. You can do this in certain parts. You have moments where you can do this, but then if you have to go into Umbral to do a little puzzle to unlock your shortcut, sometimes you can't always run, you have to fight. If you're trying to go to the little shrine to leave Umbral, if you have any enemies around you at all, you won't be able to leave. So sometimes being in there, you do have to fight and clear enemies out to be able to go back to Axiom. But I found that enjoyable personally. But then again, like I said earlier, I'm a diehard Souls fan. I love the challenge of these games. So for me, it's kind of the more the merrier. And to me, it's fair. Lies of P was like challenging, but it was unfair. It was just hard. This game to me is challenging, but fair. I have yet to run into an enemy that I feel like is just completely unfair, and I don't know why they put it there. Yes, they have a massive amounts of enemies in the areas. You have to deal with a ton of range BS. But to me, that's the extent of the really irritating when it comes to the navigation of the realms and the world. I don't know. I can't disagree with this review more. Comment down below. What do you think? Do you think Lords of the Fallen deserves a 5 out of 10? I'm not very far into it, so maybe my opinion will change the further I go. But this one just caught me off guard whenever I read it. And their points of reasoning just, I don't agree with. I'm sorry. Alright, back to some positive. Gamer Sky gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Lords of the Fallen is probably the closest game to the Dark Souls series. Its unique world-switching mechanic, resurrection upon death, and bonfire building features show the development team's deep understanding of the Souls game design. I would agree. It's as simple as that. That one, I would very much agree. I feel like Lords of the Fallen has the basics of what Souls games are, and with their dual world mechanic of Umbral and Axiom, they have built upon it, and it is awesome that Unreal Engine 5 has allowed them to create this massive dual world. I like it. I'm good with that. And finally, we have Eurogamer, who also missed the mark, giving Lords of the Fallen a 2 out of 5, saying, missing the elegance of From Software, Lords of the Fallen is let down by Souls-like cliches and performance woes. From Software is the pinnacle of these games. They created the entire genre. That's the whole reason why this exists. It's why this stuff is popular. It's why we're fortunate enough to be able to play Lords of the Fallen. So they're number one. Other people have tried, and I feel like Lords of the Fallen is the closest thing that we've had to get what From Software originally gave us. And having the two-world mechanic in the game, which is something that you've heard me talk about a lot already, I'm going to talk about it some more. It does a great job in separating this game from what From Software has done with their Souls games. As far as performance woes, when I said earlier I didn't have anything, I didn't mean I didn't have anything whatsoever and it's ran like 100% smooth. I've had frame rate stuff. I just mean that I haven't had anything that's game breaking, that's upset me to the point where I can't play the game or I feel like it's a bad game because of the frame rate issues or something that's happening in the game. That's all I meant by that. I know people have actually dealt with some performance issues and hopefully with the updates they've sorted all that out, but I grew up with the Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo, the Nintendo, I remember that. So when it comes to frame rate and resolution and stuff, I'm not one that harps on that quite as much. It just doesn't matter to me as much. If it's a good game, I'm going to play it, and fortunately in Lords of the Fallen, we have a great game. All right, I want to move on to my impressions of the game, and we're going to start out with the obvious, and that is the dual world mechanic. You have Axiom and you have Umbral. And in my opinion, they are woven together fantastically. So far, it's made traversal throughout Mornstead super interesting and fun. You have to go into Umbral at times to get shortcuts in Axiom. There are times when you can hold up the lamp. You will have no bridge. You hold up the lamp, you'll have a bridge. There's a lot of instances that I've ran into so far where if you have bars in your way and you hold up the lamp and those bars are gone. And then you can walk through, traverse to the next area, or get whatever item may have been hidden behind those bars. The two worlds, Axiom and Umbral, also have both two very different feels to them. Axiom seems very, for a Souls game, I'm going to say Axiom seems very pleasant for the most part. And then Umbral is pretty much exactly what they describe. You have the eye up in the corner, and that is your dread. And the longer you are there, the more enemies will come after you. And if the eye turns red, which has happened to me one time, you are in a lot of trouble. I don't want to spoil that for anyone, but it is made for a very interesting time traversing the world of Mornstead, and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's awesome. It definitely puts their own spin on what the Souls formula has been. And I'm really excited about it. I'm happy to see them be able to do this with Unreal Engine 5, create this world. It's essentially two worlds on top of each other. Absolutely fantastic. I cannot praise it enough. I really, really love this feature. So this is going to be a good segue into the next topic, and that's going to be level design and visuals. With the obvious help from the dual world mechanic, I think the levels so far have been great. The developers mentioned they wanted to create a world similar to that of the Dark Souls 1, and I think so far from what I've seen, they've done a pretty good job. I've already, in the short time I've played, found shortcuts that have surprised me to where they lead. It looks like interconnectivity of the world was a big emphasis, and I think thus far they've done a pretty good job. They did mention in New Game Plus that you don't have the standard vestiges. Your only option is to plant a seed, but I think that the interconnectivity of the world and the way it was designed is supposed to make traversal in New Game Plus slightly easier, I'm assuming. You know, if it is connected how they want and how they were saying, then in New Game Plus, if you have a shortcut back to Skyrest, then you can use that vestige. I'm assuming that's going to be the only vestige that you're going to have available, and you have to plant seeds otherwise. But if it all centers around Skyrest, similar to how Dark Souls centered around Firelink Shrine, then I think you'll be pretty good in the New Game Plus, even though you don't have vestiges placed and you have to use seeds. I think it's a good concept. It's going to make for a really tough New Game Plus, I think. But a challenge is what we're all here for, right? And you can always just start a new game with a new character and try something else out. Try out new abilities, or, you know, try out a strength build or a dex build. You got options. As far as art style, I'm a big fan of the dark fantasy, and I think the game hits the nail on the head. Give me a sword and a shield and turn me loose. That's all I ask for, and I'm loving every minute of it. Moving on to the next item on the list, and that is going to be combat and player choice. Combat feels very much like Dark Souls in my opinion, maybe a slightly faster version of Dark Souls, but it still feels Dark Souls to me. Your character is very nimble, you move around very quickly, which I'm perfectly cool with. I like the option to be able to run quickly. I think that's nice. I will say there's some enemy attacks, and there's some of your own attacks for that matter, that they cover a lot of ground quickly. You may be backing up from an enemy to gain some distance to maybe give yourself time to heal or something like that. Then an enemy will use a sword, do a slash. They will like dash at you really quick as they're doing their attack. That has taken some getting used to. So it is a little bit different from Dark Souls in that aspect. Overall, I genuinely like the combat. It has been fun. I feel like you can traverse areas pretty quick. Your roll also covers quite a bit of ground, so you have to watch out of not falling off the ledge. In the first area that you really get to explore, you're kind of on the side of a cliff, so you have a lot of moments of if you dodge too far, you're going to fall. You have a lot of enemies hiding around corners that are there waiting to knock you off. I like the revival mechanic of reviving an umbral. I've actually had moments that have been pretty entertaining. An enemy will knock me off, and then I will revive behind them, and when you revive, you release a shockwave that knocks enemies back, even bosses from what I can tell. But your shockwave will knock enemies back, and I've sent enemies flying off the side of a cliff, which has been pretty hilarious, to be honest. But I like the combat. I really enjoy it. You have player choice when it comes to combat. And what I mean by that is if you want to have a strength build, you can have a strength build, dex build. Whatever build you want to have, you can do that in this game, and I really like that. So far I've given the game a lot of praise. I'm really enjoying it. I hope you all are too. Comment down below. Let me know what you think of the game so far. But there are a couple things in the game that irritate me, and it's just irritating. It's not anything game breaking. It's not anything like super terrible, but the first thing is how you pick up your vigor. You basically have to come in contact with it or be in close proximity for you to get your vigor. I understand you can use the siphon feature on the lamp and you can bring in all your vigor from long distances. And yes, that's cool for the first couple times you use it. But at some point, with quality of life and everything, just let us absorb the vigor. Why do we need to hold up the lamp to get our vigor if it's off in a distance, if we killed a range enemy and we can't get there? So that's something I would actually like tweaked. The other thing I was going to complain about, it's been a couple days of me trying to make this video because I was having some computer issues. But my other nitpick was picking up your vigor like in a boss arena after you died, because you had an animation that was lengthy and you had no iframes and you would get hit and lose a lot of health. But since starting making this video, I believe they have patched that and improved it. They've given you iframes, and I think they've made it a little bit faster, so that's been greatly appreciated. On the performance side of things, full disclosure, I have not had many issues. I've had 2 total crashes, and it happened back to back about 6 hours in the exact same spot. And beyond that, I haven't had anything besides a little framey stuff here or there. It's been a wonderful experience on my end so far. I have not tried out multiplayer, apart from doing the revenge mechanic, where you can go kill an enemy that killed someone else and you gain some sort of currency for it. I've done that, but that's it. I haven't actually played with anyone yet. One more thing that I don't really know if it's a negative or not, but I feel like the game, I guess it could be a negative because I feel like it can turn players away. And I will say the traversal between vestiges can be difficult at times. I feel like where a lot of the difficulty lies in traversal around the world, because the bosses haven't been quite as hard, but the sheer number of enemies they throw at you, that is where a lot of the difficulty comes from. So I can see where that could turn some players off. I would just encourage anyone to push through, or if this is your first Souls-like experience and you haven't played Dark Souls or Elden Ring, I would go back and play one of those and then come back to this later. Because these are honestly amazing games. They're super fun and they're really rewarding. In a day and age when you have checkpoints every 2 feet, these are games that whenever you actually make it through the difficult area, through the boss, you feel like you've accomplished something. Yes, it is trial and error at times. It also rewards skill, and there's something to be said in that. And to me, it makes for an awesome game and a fun experience. So please, don't give up if you're having trouble with the game. Push on, go try something else out, get used to these games, then come back. That would be my recommendation. Also, I would recommend you play through the game blind your first time. You can only experience the game blind one time. And that's the way I think it should be played, rather than watch someone else's playthrough and then just go do it. But if you're someone who enjoys watching someone play and then you follow that up, by all means, continue on and play however you want. But I'm going to wrap this up. I hope this video didn't go too awful long. I work 40 hours a week, so really the weekends is the only time I get to do anything like this or play video games. I'm trying my best to do a few things throughout the week, but it can be tough sometimes. I want to thank everybody that has watched this. I really appreciate it. My playthrough will be in the description. Again, I encourage you to go play it blind on your own. Come back, maybe after you've covered an area. But everyone watching these and then the comments, it really does mean a lot to me. I've really enjoyed doing YouTube, and I really appreciate everybody checking out the videos. I am doing a giveaway at 1,000 subscribers. 3 $100 gift codes, a platform of your choice. All you have to do to enter is be subscribed to the channel. I really appreciate all the support, and I will catch you on the next one. Later.